Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Oram, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Guys, we've had an incredible season two thus far. We've had some exciting guests. I know I say this every week, but we are truly empowering people all over the world. I have been so excited, just to get a chance to speak with so many people and all of the responses and correspondences that we've received have been incredible. I do truly thank you so much for your support, so much for your love. We have people who are listening in over 170 countries, and we don't take that for granted. All of you are a part of the Deep Dive Podcast family, and we continue to thank you so very much. As I say every week, though, we truly want you to continue to like, subscribe, download, and share this podcast because what we're doing is not just entertaining people. We want to make sure that we're bringing value to everyone's lives. We want to make sure that we're empowering people to prosper, giving them the tools that they need to change their lives for whatever, to build whatever capacity that they want so that they can turn their dreams into reality. So I certainly thank each and every one of you for tuning in. And tonight's episode will be no different. We have a special guest that I've been so excited to get a chance to listen to his message of empowerment and his delivery of his message of empowerment and how many lives that has changed. I mean, he is a father to the fatherless, and you'll know what that means once you get a chance to hear from this guy. He's actually in Croatia, and he's going to tell you about that story as well. I don't want to hold him from you any longer, guys, because I know I've been, anticipating this myself, as is so many other people. So let me bring to the Deep Dive Podcast family, all the way from Croatia, a guy that is absolutely incredible. Let's give it up and give some love for Emmanuel Ename. Emmanuel, how are you, my brother?
I'm feeling good. You got me feeling like I'm like, man, I'm about to go into some sort of ring.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Welcome to the Deep Dive Podcast, my friend.
Thank you for having me, sir. Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
it's a pleasure. We've been looking forward to this, so we certainly looking forward to hearing from you.
So, I guess let me hit on well, my purpose in regards to being a father to the fatherless.
Okay.
So, so part of being a father is helping prepare your children, prepare their characters
Mm-hmm.
for the inevitable difficulties that every person is going to face in life.
Right.
And so, um, and to be efficient uh, and uh, and most effective in in preparing your character and getting the right mindset is to
Mm-hmm.
have this one goal in mind. And I'll sum it up real quickly is that the person needs to have this mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have joy during the difficult times in
Right.
life.
Right. Right.
And so once you have that mindset, then it becomes easier for a person to understand what things to do and to hang on to and what things to avoid or or take in small doses.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important for people to understand that and to understand that it is fully possible. And I'm going to talk about two women briefly. Both of them have passed, but
Mm-hmm.
one of them, her name is Amy Carmichael, and the other is Gladys Aylward.
Okay.
And people can go look on. I don't know why I'm pointing back there. It's not like YouTube is back
Right.
there, but people but people can go look on YouTube and see video documentaries of their lives,
Right.
and it's like very inspiring because so one of them went from Ireland and the UK to India to go serve,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one went from somewhere in the UK to go to China. And so the first one, Amy Carmichael, who went to India, she was born like about the mid 1800s and passed in the earlier 1900s.
Okay.
And Gladys Aylward, she was born, as I recall, early 1900s and passed away in the mid 1900s.
Right.
And when you like listen and hear their journey,
Mm-hmm.
like apparently Gladys Aylward is like 5 foot tall woman, and she at one point when she was in China, so she's not with any particular mission group.
Right.
She went out there by herself. She met one missionary out there, and um, and she was able to meet like maybe a couple of other couples, but she was by herself. So
Okay.
this is a woman at that time in the world, no cell phone, no
Was
instant communication with
right.
loved ones back home, but she had that drive, that push, that tenacity. Like, I gotta go there because I gotta help people out.
Right.
Um, and so, like at one point in her story, because the town that she was living in and working in, she had become acquainted with the people, and at one point there was a riot going on. Or let me back up, not a riot. There was one prisoner who had gotten an axe, and
Mm-hmm.
he had killed like one or two people in the prison, and the guards couldn't get him under control, and so they called her and
Okay.
said, "Go, go fix it."
Get him under control.
Yeah. And so apparently she went into the prison, and when she came face to face with him, she told him, "Give that to me, like give me the axe."
Right.
And so I guess it was, well, the hand of God working through her to have that courage,
Right.
and also that a loving approach.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gave the axe to her, and then she helped, at least in that prison, bring about a little bit of reform,
Right.
so the prisoners could have some more hope.
Right.
Um, yeah, and so in another part of her journey, so a bunch of she started picking up uh, a bunch of kids.
Okay.
So basically, kids were like homeless kids, kids without parents. They kept coming to her complex or her house that she had out there, and
Mm-hmm.
so she ended up getting like like a small family of maybe, if I recall correctly, it was like 40 to maybe 50 kids.
Yeah, she had a village.
And yeah, I say small family. That's a village. And
Yeah.
so at one point, I think this was, so Japan was like invading China at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
um, and she needed to move her village, and so they ended up having to go through the mountains on this long trek, on
Right.
this long journey, and at one point they had come to one village, and they're like, "Oh yeah, uh, we're hopeful we're going to get in," but they got
Right.
denied.
Okay.
And so that's actually one character test
Mm-hmm.
that people can go through, is like the, "Oh, I'm almost there but not yet."
Not
And
yet.
yeah, it's like, "Oh, this is that breakthrough, this is that, but not yet." and
Right.
so and so the thing about that is, when you experience that, uh, and you experience it with the right mindset, that'll build persistence and
Right.
tenacity in a person. It's like, okay, that wasn't the breakthrough that I was expecting, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep pushing. And
Mm-hmm.
so they ended up walking, I think, for a few more days, and they ended up in a village that took them in. But
Right.
I'm like, man, it's like it's possible. And so
Mm-hmm.
this is why I am this is why I am very cheerful and hopeful, because as I continue to to teach and to let people know, and to preach to people into in the square here, it's like, man, it is
Right.
possible. You can get there.
Right.
um yeah. So
Yeah, for me, I do a lot in terms of the study of the mind, the book Mindset of a Champion, and what it takes to get to that championship level. What was your process or evolution to from where you were to where you are now? It's just curious, you're empowering so many people, and like you said, to share your message in the square, and but how did you actually evolve into this particular iteration of who you are?
so I would say the main driving force was, for me,
Hmm.
the fear of God.
Okay.
Um, so, for example, um, it was about June of last year. Uh, I really didn't talk to people that were not in my uh, immediate immediate circle. I
Okay.
mean, I may have like a little bit of conversation here, but I wouldn't have like conversations like this.
Hmm.
And so, and this was actually discovered when I was in Dubrovnik. I
Okay.
realized, I'm like, okay, um, I need to improve in my ability to connect with people,
Hmm.
and to be able to talk with people. And so that's when some fun began.
Okay.
And and so after that trip to Dubrovnik, came back to Zagreb, and this is one thing that kicked it off. Popped in my headphones,
Hmm.
turned on some gospel music, and I went into the town, the main parts of the town, and I was dancing in the streets.
Really?
Uh-huh. And and so it was kind of like, it's like, take the band-aids off, man. You know what? I'm going in.
Right.
And
Right.
so I remember, I'm like, okay, all right. And so I did that, and I was going up and down some streets, and some people were like, oh, okay, what's like,
Like,
this
what's
guy
wrong
is
with this
like,
guy?
he's like, okay, he's got some energy. And so um, that's what kind of kicked me off in regards uh, uh, to starting to be molded. Uh,
Hmm.
and so shortly after that, I went to Germany in the month of August. And this is where uh, things went into, what's the best way to say, overdrive. So
Okay.
basically, uh, I guess I'll sum it up this way: God pushed me to get out of my comfort zone,
Right.
and uh, to get over my approach anxiety.
Hmm.
So I kept going up to random strangers on the street, and finding ways, creative ways, to start a conversation and to try and hold a conversation.
I
And
see.
so it was, so when I say the fear of God, it's like, I don't want to deal with the sir.
Right.
So I'm gonna talk to you.
Right.
I
Right.
don't. I don't. I don't care how many thoughts of fear are in my head. It's like, I don't want to. I don't want to run into conflict. And so
Right.
it's like, so it's like, I'm gonna talk to you, or I'm gonna try and talk to you.
Right.
And so that's what kept pushing me, and I learned a lot of things on as I was doing that, like one thing that I learned is like, you know what, if you're having small talk with someone and it looks like you might be losing them, or they might be like, hey, what's going on here, and
Hmm.
if you mess up, don't worry about it, keep going,
Right.
keep
That's right.
keep keep talking, push through,
Yeah.
because what'll happen is then if you start to worry and think, oh man, I messed up, they're going to think that something's like who's this strange guy, yada yada yada,
Right.
then all of those thoughts start to occupy your mind, and then it affects your performance.
Absolutely. Yeah. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Okay.
because you're you end up bleeding energy because your mind is overwhelmed by is by thoughts that are not here in
Hmm.
this in this moment. And
Right.
so, but then also it's a an additional learning lesson is get better each time. Don't
Hmm.
try and don't try and knock it out the park each time that you're uh, trying to approach people with small talk. And so that's one thing that I had to learn. It
Right.
it it took a large number of people for for me to get. So I'm
I'm sure
basically
it did.
so I'm dancing and I'm like, okay, all right, well, I can say this. Let me be mindful of touching on topics like that.
Right.
Uh, and so it's like kind of this dance to the point where it helped me improve my communication skills. And
Hmm.
and something else I discovered is that it's important to talk to a wide variety of people
Mm.
because for the older man in Germany to understand me, I need to have a specific way to talk to him,
That's right.
or a teenager that I met in the square in Zagreb. I need to be able to speak clearly to him, and it's
Hmm.
also good to speak to people whose first language isn't English, because then you really have to find a way to simplify what you're saying,
Right.
and
Right.
then your message becomes more clear to a very wide variety of people.
Hmm.
And so and so yeah, there's a lot of things that I learned in that process, and even part of that process required me to start writing poetry,
Mm.
and and a, a couple of times I had to uh, go up to random people on the street
Uh-huh.
and read one of the poems that I wrote,
Okay.
and so it's this constant, like, maybe the best way to say it is like, um, I'm like turning around and I'm like, God, I don't want to go, but he's like,
Right.
get out there, get out there.
But you know what? You truly epitomize the coming out of your comfort zone. Because I mean, I'm sitting here imagining. First of all, would I be willing to do something like this? And even if I'm willing to do it, do I really have the strength and the capacity to follow through? But to see you going through this, and I can even imagine you just dancing and just engaging with people. And that's interesting to me because one of the things that I know you do and you talk about a lot is helping people become more attractive. And when you
Hmm.
first hear that from the surface, you're like, what do you mean help people become more attractive? But from your perspective, what does that actually mean?
So that's in regards to the person on the inside, the
That's
the the
right.
the real you, your character. And
Hmm.
so things like having joy in the difficult times, that's
Hmm.
attractive,
Right.
because people are like, um, what's happening with them? I'm a little bit down, but they're over there in the same situation as me and they have joy. Let me
Right.
go hang out with them and see if I can get some of that joy.
That's right.
Or like as I talked about with Gladys Aylward, her persistence. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's like a door might close in her face, but she's gonna keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's attractive because it's
Right.
like in this life there are gonna be many things that or many times a door will be closed in a person's face, or something they were working on, a plan or goal is not playing out the way that they hope for. And
Absolutely.
so that can that can cause people to go to the sidelines. Now, rest is also important as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about that. Rest is it's a big thing, and that's also incorporated in my schedule. Like I'll I'll give it a good push for 6 weeks, and
Mm-hmm.
the seventh week I take off.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and I've been running on that schedule now for, I'd say, probably about a year and a half.
Okay.
And had I not done that, uh, I would never have discovered my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've discovered that happens is this. It's like I don't know. Have you ever heard of this term that I guess some entrepreneurs use, shower moment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Magic moment, shower moment. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like basically like, you know what, you left the drawing board, you left your table, and you're
Right.
doing something else, and it's like, boom, hey,
Yep.
that's a good
That
idea.
aha moment.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is what I discovered. Like whenever on that seventh week,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where where I'm off, it'll either be I'm gonna get some sort of new idea that by Monday, by Monday of my first week back, I'm
Right.
like, okay, let me put this to the test,
Right.
because this is something that I absolutely needed to move forward,
Mm-hmm.
and then or something that before I went into break, I was like, it was a puzzle that I'm like trying to figure out, and then go into break, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a good thing to go into nature and kind of recharge, let the
Right.
mind catch its breath
Mm-hmm.
after pushing hard, and I find that again it every time, every week, uh, every off week, it's
Mm-hmm.
always something new, and it's always something like a problem reassembles, um, and it's like, oh, that's how I'm going to approach it.
Right.
And so by Monday I come back, I'm like, okay, let's go,
Right.
because like now I got to test this stuff out, and
Yeah.
that's and speaking of testing things out, that's also one of those that's also one of those very important things. So if you have any Christians who might be listening, so that's how. So if God speaks to me and tells me, "Hey, Emmanuel wants you to do such and such,"
Mm-hmm.
now I need to go and test it out and figure out. It's like, okay, God said do this, but how can I work out? Let me
How
work
will
out
you
the
make it
kink,
happen? Yeah.
the kinks. And so sometimes it's like, okay, I'll use the first analogy that's coming to my mind. It's like you kind of have to bounce from side to side, and
Mm-hmm.
then figure out, okay, I said it this way, but let me try this next time. And
Mm-hmm.
so testing it out, or it's like that worked well with that person. Let
Right.
me let me see how it works with the next person and the next person and the
Mm-hmm.
next person. And so there's this constant testing, in regards to when God wants a person to obey a specific instruction that He
Mm-hmm.
gives, and He can't give. He can't give a person too much information, because
Right.
if he would have told me all of the stuff that I learned, I think it would have broke my mind.
I know. I can imagine.
I'm like, oh yeah. So it's like, I mean, you got to walk and test and figure things out, and it
That's
kind
right.
of, and you start to get this momentum.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of the snowball effect, and so you're picking up learned lessons here, and you're picking up wisdom here, and you're connected with people here, and you're learning how to be more patient when you talk to some people. You're learning how to to take the critiques of others, although
Mm-hmm.
they might be harsh,
Right.
like learning how to speak to people who are in direct opposition to something that you might believe, or something that might be part of your value system.
Right.
And so I'll I'll speak to just a little bit in regards to some things in the States. It's a good thing for political parties to talk to each other, to find a way to communicate,
Mm-hmm.
because every time I have had a conversation with someone who was like in opposition to me, or
Right.
they might have been angry at me for something.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I learned something absolutely vital from that conversation that helped me improve moving forward.
Mm-hmm. That's important.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so um it's I'm excited
Yeah.
for other people, and to help guide them in this path of increasing their attraction,
Mm-hmm.
because that persistent, that courage,
Mm-hmm.
also attractive.
Right.
It's like, okay, it's like this person is willing to do that, willing to. It's like, okay, they have courage to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but then also it's important to understand that each character trait needs to be comprehensively developed,
Mm-hmm.
because just because you had courage to go talk to a stranger on the street doesn't mean you have courage to go open your third business after the first two failed.
Right.
and
Right.
and so it's like, you kind of have to look at it like a muscle, like
Mm-hmm.
your shoulder muscle. You
Mm-hmm.
got the front part, the side, and the back, and then you have your slow twitch fibers and your fast twitch fibers.
Right.
And so you need that short burst push for
Yep.
courage, and you also need that endurance, because sometimes you're going to get to a closed door, and sometimes you're
Building
going to have
those muscles. Yeah.
uh-huh
I know, and
getting.
you mentioned the word character, and I know you are quote unquote character coach, but how does that play into what you're talking about in terms of being attractive? And I know, building yourself, building your character, but from your perspective, what does it mean being a character coach?
So it is teach fundamentals of how to play this game called life, help
Mm-hmm.
people understand. Then I show myself going through um, some sort of training exercise on that fundamental,
Mm-hmm.
and then whoever it is that I will coach, then I say, okay, now it's your turn. So,
Right.
for example, um, one of the exercises, or I'll say, I think this would be the first exercise that I offer, is singing in public.
Okay.
And so about about every other Sunday, I'm in the main square preaching, but also spreading joy to
Mm-hmm.
people, like just greeting people. Hey,
Right.
it's a Dobadan, which is a good day, and so I'm wishing people also good Mondays and a good week,
Right.
because our thoughts are like seeds,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing about our thoughts is they can gather momentum really, really quick, or they go from seed to harvest like that.
Right.
And so if I'm putting out thoughts of joy, if I'm speaking joy into people's lives, then it's a matter of I'm planting seeds, because it's like, look, I know that this life has its difficulties, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's important uh, to to do my best to help other people deal with their difficulties. But so, in regards to uh, singing in public, uh, this is it's a it's a good exercise for
Mm-hmm.
people to do, and as I did it, I think it was the first time when I was in Germany in August. um, but as I as I got the wisdom and understanding on why it's beneficial,
Uh-huh.
one of the reasons, well, courage, and to say, all right, you know what, I'm going to go do something a little bit silly here, but then also I'm not going to let my mind get overwhelmed by what I think other people might be thinking about me,
Right. Okay.
and so it's because that'll affect your performance, because you're like, oh, that person's looking at me a little bit weird, or like, oh, that group of people are laughing, maybe they're laughing at me,
Mm-hmm.
and so you don't hit the perfect notes whenever you're singing baby shark a doo 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 baby.
Right.
but I mean, hitting the perfect notes is that's not so important, but it's more so uh, a big part of it is getting over the potential, or excuse me, getting over those thoughts of worry about what other people might think,
Right.
and
Exactly.
and so, I mean, as I mentioned before, other people's opinions and critiques of you are important to gather something from it,
Mm-hmm.
um, or at minimal, at least to have some sort of practice of not getting angry with someone
Right.
because they might have critiqued you harshly.
Right.
But the big thing, the very, very big thing is that every decision a human makes, it is based on some sort of foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I bought that car because of this,
Right.
or I married this woman because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are some times, or I should say there are often times where people will base some decisions, some very important decisions, on their worry about the opinions of other people.
Oh
And
yeah.
so for example, this is applicable for marriages. It's like, because a young lady might feel that societal pressure, or she sees all of her friends getting married, and they might be making, the small slights here and there about, like, oh, when are you going to get there,
Right.
and so that the 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 thoughts of worry of, like, okay, I might be shunned from the group, type
Mm-hmm.
of thing, uh, and so she might, or let me put it this way, her eyes might be clouded to
Mm-hmm.
that new man that she meets,
Right.
clouded by the mental fog of others,
Mm-hmm.
and to the point where she rushes into that marriage, and she didn't fully see that, um, at that time, he was not the right he was not the right man for her.
Right.
and
Right.
so and so it can affect, like, very, very important decisions. And so this is one of the reasons why it's a good thing for people to come have a little bit of fun,
Oh
and
yeah. Oh yeah.
and also to push through
Right.
and try and get that that volume as high as possible, because as we discussed a couple of times already, is that there are things that will affect our performance, and fear is one of those things.
Absolutely.
It's I've heard it from an artist. I've heard it from uh, he's an ex soccer player, pro
Hmm.
soccer player. It's like, oh yeah. Fear will affect the person's performance,
Right.
and it goes back to you're not in that moment
Hmm.
like fully focused, because your mind has gotten uh, taken over by that mental fog,
Right.
by like all of this other stuff.
All of this clutter.
And
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just coming around with my broom, helping people, bringing the dustpan. Like, look, this is what this is what I did, or this is
Right.
what things that I learned in the process, and these are the areas that I saw that I ran into issues with. Like, for example, with small talking with strangers on the street,
Hmm.
um, I noticed that maybe after I had a conversation with somebody, that like maybe it was a good conversation,
Hmm.
and I would be like worried about uh, if I saw them again on the street. Is almost like it's like, oh, I don't want to lose my status with them after
Right.
I had this good conversation. I'm like, that's a very interesting worry to have,
Yeah.
and and so it's like, so sometimes it would turn into, I would try. I was like, had a good conversation. It's like, okay, well, let me try and walk this way, so I don't run into them again.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, this is very interesting. But
Right.
nonetheless, it was like, okay, that's important to learn,
Hmm.
because that is something that again could affect the person or impact them uh, negatively in in this life.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
the
That's
like
that's interesting, man. Because it brings me to the thought of, and I know I could talk to you all night, because you're so full of wisdom, and the way you articulate that is interesting to me. But as we close out, one of the things that I want to leave with everyone is something that I know is a powerful concept that you share with people who you just interact with or teach or coach or your podcast or anything like that. But I want people to understand the value of eternal joy. From your perspective, if we could just kind of close out on that notion, because we want to feed the audience with just give them some substance to live by. And I know you're a master of eternal joy. Can you share a little bit about that particular notion?
so it comes down to maybe the best way to say it is you have to defend your joy.
Mm, okay.
And so and so going back to that mindset, um, that that character mindset a person should have to become more efficient and effective in life. Um, so this comes down to a matter of finding out things that are trying to steal your joy. So,
Mm,
for example, something like unforgiveness,
mm-hmm.
that's joy killer,
Right.
absolute joy killer. Um, and and part of the reason is because those thoughts of anger, they catch momentum. They
Mm-hmm.
catch momentum, and that thing could turn from a match into a forest fire real quick.
Right.
And so a person who had joy in one moment, maybe a week later, 2 months, 4 months later, after those thoughts of anger just kept growing, and in a sense, like kind of pushing joy into the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, with that said, then this is where it becomes possible for a person to say, okay, I'm going to keep my joy eternally
Right.
because now I know that unforgiveness is an inferno waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to forgive. Somebody cuts me off in traffic, I'm going to forgive.
Right.
Um, and and so uncontrollable anger is the thing that people want to get away from.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
because because that thing snowballs,
Yeah.
and so there are a lot of other things that a person needs to understand in order to keep that eternal joy, to defend their joy. I guess you know what, this is an analogy that I need to work on, something
Okay.
to say. I'm thinking like maybe should it be like your joy is like a snowball, and it
Mm-hmm.
keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, and yeah, it's an analogy that I'll think about,
Right.
and so this way I can find a way to better communicate um, how it is that your joy is an entity uh, that uh, that needs protection.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's good, man. That's good stuff. I tell you what, man, we're gonna have to have you back for part two. There is so much wisdom in what you're sharing, and you're empowering people. And like I said, I could talk to you all night, but I certainly want to respect your time. And, I'll say this, I truly appreciate you being able to, share your wisdom, share your passion, share your perspective on what joy is and unforgiveness is, and being attractive and those type things, because so many people are struggling, as with, self-identification, how do I move forward, understanding the process of life. And so for you to be able to share from your perspective, and just give them a little bit of insight on what it takes,
Mhm.
to have that proper mindset and to understand where you are, with God and things of that nature, man. We certainly appreciate and salute you for that. And
Mhm.
before we get out of here, do you have any last words or anything you want to share with the audience before we get out of here?
Well, I'm going to take a nugget that you gave me at the beginning,
Okay.
um, and, uh, to go outside, catch some sunshine.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Make sure I get a little bit of a break in after.
Yeah. That's good,
After
man.
uh,
Absolutely. You, you
indeed.
you talked about in your, when you were sharing, you talked about certain things, and it all boils down to clarity of mind.
Mm,
And whatever we need to do to have clarity of mind, that's what's actually going to drive us forward in a successful manner. So, kudos to you and what it is that you're doing. For those individuals who may want to, just follow up with you, if allowed, a brief email or contact, or how would they connect with you, or the best way to connect with you, if they have any kind of follow up or just to say thank you.
um, buy a plane ticket and come to Zagreb.
Okay. Okay.
So as of right now, um, people should, if they want to hear more and they want to learn more, in particular, in regards to understanding the fundamentals
Hmm.
uh, and the tools that you can use to play this game called life, then
Right.
they can just follow me on Instagram,
Okay.
and it's all one word at Emmanuel NMA.
Okay. Okay.
And and so I imagine you'll throw that in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. All
Um,
right.
yeah, and so yeah, I'm hopeful,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah, I'm looking forward uh, to maybe getting you to sing Baby Shark a doo 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 doo.
We got a lot of work to get to that point, my brother.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, look, Emmanuel, I really appreciate it again. I thank you so very much for joining us here on the Deep Dive Podcast. You're a wealth of knowledge. You're a great guy, and we certainly want to have you back again at some point in the future. But continue doing what you're doing, man, and just sharing this information with people and empowering people, and just helping all of us grow and become our best selves. So thank you again. Thank you for all of you who are listening in across the world. We appreciate your support as usual. As I said earlier, thank you very much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, download, and share this podcast. We're going to be rebroadcasting all throughout all podcast platforms, so you'll get a chance to hear this information over again. Make sure you take notes. Make sure you consume the information. But most importantly, make sure you apply all of the principles that Emmanuel shared with you. Do your best to make this a part of your life. Do your best to smile, and do your best to be able to sing Baby Shark.
So you said something that reminded me to say one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Part of the reason why it is good to talk to strangers on the street and to just talk to strangers in general
Right.
is that some people can be going through a dark moment, and a smile from a stranger or just a pleasant greeting
Right.
from a stranger could help them snap out of it, and can keep someone from spiraling into depression or
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
true, man. That is so true. Words to the wise, just take those things into consideration. Talk to someone. Make sure you talk to someone. Don't internalize all of this grief and stress and strife. And speak to someone. Share it. Yell out. Do whatever you need to do. But, don't internalize these things, because it can do detrimental harm to you. All right. So with that, everybody, thank you so much again, Emmanuel. Thank you, all of you, for tuning in. God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world.